You didn't think we were just going to cancel the podcast, did you? You didn't think we were just going to fly off into oblivion. We've got more thoughts about this Georgia-Alabama game. We've got more thoughts about this Georgia team. We've got more thoughts about the rest of the season. We've got more thoughts about our feelings. We've got more thoughts about some facts, and all of them are coming up next on the Locked On Bulldogs podcast.
You are Locked On Bulldogs, your daily podcast on the Georgia Bulldogs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Back, everybody. This is Locked On Bulldogs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. He is Daniel. I'm Clint. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel.com. They're fantastic. You need to go check them out because it's the only place that Daniel and I trust to go get them sportsbook, number one sportsbook in America, FanDuel.com. Daniel mentioned it in the open, but we are glad to have you all here with us. The everydayers, the first listen. Thanks for making us your first listen of the day. We know that we have many loyal fans that are out there with us, and we love you all so very much. Daniel teased it at the beginning. We have so many feelings, so many thoughts, so much to digest. We had a good sleep on it. We had the overreaction show on Saturday, which many of you came out for. It was a sleep.
We did get some REM in
more
there
than others.
Yep. Some slept a lot more than others. That is true.
But we've seen some things. We've heard some things. There's been reaction. We want to talk about the reaction to that. In segment 2, we're going to talk about maybe some depth issues for Georgia going forward. And then segment 3, the loyal third segment listeners, those who are everydayers, will come back for that special treat. But Daniel, to start us off, what do you have as you've been thinking about this game? Have you been processing the loss to Alabama and Tuscaloosa? What do you want to talk about?
Here's what I want to talk about, if I may.
You may.
Let me explain two things that are true. Both of them true at the same time. Okay?
We're famous for this.
Thing number one that is true is I quite frankly do not know what the ceiling of this Georgia football team is. I don't know if this is a national championship caliber team. I don't know if this is an SEC championship caliber team. I do not know if this is a team that I should expect to miss the playoff, make the playoff, advance in the playoff, how far this team can go. I genuinely don't know that. And that's a bit of a different feeling if you're a Georgia fan, right? For the last 3 consecutive seasons, Georgia has had unequivocally, by any metric, any standard of college football, a national championship caliber team, and we have known it from the very beginning of the season all the way through, right? Like there was never a moment in that 2022 season when you thought, oh man, maybe this Georgia team won't make the playoff. Maybe this Georgia team isn't as good. I mean, maybe they, showed some weaknesses. They showed some chinks in the armor, but they were that was the ceiling. We all knew that. Last year, same thing. And that was the ceiling. They lost Alabama in the SEC championship game, but I thought should have been in the college football playoff. A lot of people thought should have been in the college football playoff. We knew that they were a national championship caliber team. I don't know what the ceiling is for this Georgia team. I feel very conflicted about it. I have a lot of feelings and emotions about it. And if I could just be honest, I don't think you know either if you're watching this or you're listening to this right now. Like, we're not even going to discuss that right now because that's not even a conversation that we can even have right now. Like, we're going to have to learn that. And that's an uncomfortable place to be, Georgia fans. That's not a fun place to be. It's not a place that we're used to. But let's not pretend that there's not a lot of other teams out there right now trying to figure out who their team is, right? Like, they don't know either who their team is and whether or not their team can legitimately compete for a national championship or not. There are reasons to think Georgia can. There are reasons to think Georgia can't. And we're going to have to learn that together. None of us know. That's uncomfortable. That's thing number one. But let me transition to thing number two that's also true, Clint. And that is this. What I saw on Saturday night.
Yeah.
You can say whatever you want about an execution standpoint, about a game plan standpoint. You can say whatever you want about all the things that we have talked about and will continue to talk about. What I saw from that football team in terms of the culture that Kirby Smart has built in Athens, the culture of this year's Georgia football team, the culture of Carson Beck, the quarterback of this year's Georgia football team, of the defense, Jalen Walker, and the defense of this year's Georgia football team, to not quit and pack it in, to fight, to scratch, to claw, to believe. When, be honest, Georgia fans, none of us believed.
No.
Not a single dang one of us believed
Nope.
Georgia was coming back in this game. To fight and to believe like that, I'll tell you what I do know, Clint, and I know it definitively. Whatever the ceiling for this Georgia football team is, they're going to reach it. They're going to get there. Kirby Smart and this team will squeeze the absolute maximum amount of juice out of this lemon. Like they will 100% achieve everything they are capable of as a team. Now, do they have the pieces? Do they have the right fit? Do they have the personnel? Is it the right grouping of guys to be a national championship caliber team? I don't know that. To be an SEC championship caliber team? I don't know that. To be a 10-2 team? I don't know that. But whatever that ceiling is, I feel extremely confident coming out of Saturday night in Tuscaloosa that this team is going to get there, because they showed me that they're not going to quit on any game. They're going to push through any adversity, and they're going to fight and scratch and claw and make the absolute most out of every opportunity that they are given. And honestly, that's a team that, even if this is a 9-3 miss the college football playoffs team, that's a team I can cheer for and feel really good about. Like, legitimately, we're not into moral victories. We want to win national championships. We don't even want to win like regular season games or SEC championships. Like, that's not how we measure. We're trying to measure success. We want to win national championships, non-Mickey Mouse national championships. That's what we're trying to win at the University of Georgia. And
correct.
So I'm not into moral victories, but I'm telling you, I will enjoy cheering for this Georgia team based on what I saw on Saturday night, because I can respect the heck out of a team that fights like that works like that puts in the effort like that, and that is going to maximize their potential, Clint.
Absolutely. Daniel, you said it. This team, Kirby Smart is going to continue. So you saw it after the game. You saw it during the game where he wasn't chewing into his players. He was getting the most out of them because they needed the most out. We're going to come back on this. I'm going to tell you something that's really unique about this specific season, this specific game, and this specific team that we haven't seen in college football in quite some time. But first, these. These are, in fact, FanDuel. FanDuel.com. We love FanDuel. Hey, NFL fans, you could start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bet. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's a guarantee when you place your first $5 bet. FanDuel.com. You could have gone over there. You could have taken us on the money line last week against Alabama. You could have taken the Ravens, who are just absolutely going to town right now on the Bills. You could have gotten all those live bets action at FanDuel. Daniel and I trust them. We love them. We go over there. Every time we do a locks episode, we tell you to go over to FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com for your bonus bet of $200 guaranteed with a $5 bet right now. FanDuel.com. Daniel, you're right. This team does have that grit. This team does have the determination. This team showed up, and I think I saw for the first time last year, we did not see this, and you and I were on the podcast talking about last year how we were bemoaning the fact of anybody, give me a Nakobe Dean. Give me a Roquan Smith. Give me anybody talking, anybody saying things, anybody taking leadership. This year, Daniel, we saw a couple of those guys in the Mills game. Carson Beck did come to life on the sideline. You saw him come to life on the sideline, getting his guys pumped midway through the third quarter when he started to believe and get his rhythm going. He went to every single person. You saw Malachi Starks. You saw Jalen come down, and every single person responded to those two on the defensive side of the ball, talking, getting them excited, getting them into it. Kirby Smart doing the same exact thing. Every single time there was a mistake, you could tell he wanted to just erupt, but he didn't. He talked to them, and it did produce for 13 seconds a winning fourth quarter score against the number one team in America. Not at the time, I get it, but they're the best team in America at home in week 5 of college football, which, by the way, that statement right there, I went back and I looked at all the previous championships the last 5 years. Daniel,
Okay.
I'm going to tell you the most ridiculous game that any one of these championship teams played on the road early in the season. Okay. 2019 LSU.
What's our criteria
Tigers.
for ridiculous here? Like just
Well, I'm a top team, top 10 team, take a top 10 team early in the season on the road.
Okay, sure. Okay, got it.
Okay. LSU, the year they had Joe Burrow and was
2019.
absolutely ridiculous.
No, we remember.
Just
we remember the SEC
absolutely
championship game.
They went on the road and played at the time number 9 Texas, second week of the season.
I remember.
Eked out a 1 touchdown win, 45-38. That Texas team went on to be 5-4 in conference play, 8-5 Tom Herman at the end of the year.
Say the final score of the game again.
I'm glad, Daniel, I'm glad you asked. They won 45-38 week 2 against Texas, the number 9 team in the nation.
One score. So they lost by 7 points on the road.
7 points on the road to a team that would then go on to lose 5 games the entire season with Tom Herman and be a complete cluster.
This is your segment, Clint. I'm not trying to steal it, but quick follow-up. Is Alabama going to lose 5 games this year?
You're catching. I'm sensing. Look, this is why we're co-hosts. The man is picking up what I'm putting down.
Now,
the next closest
I'm 100%
game
on board. Here we go.
The next closest game, LSU plays number 7 Florida, but it's week down. It's many weeks later. Florida will go on to lose 2 games. They're number 7. They win 42-28, but it's in Baton Rouge, and it's October 12th. Auburn. They play an Auburn team. Auburn comes to LSU. Gus Malzahn team. Auburn winds up playing a 9-4 season. 9-4 Auburn against LSU. They win 23-20 at home, Daniel.
23-20 at home. This is the team that it's so easy to forget these types of things. This is, again, the 2019 LSU team, the team that some people will look you dead in the eye and say, that is the best college football team that has ever been assembled in the history of college football.
Thank you, Daniel, for, again, proving my point. They voted on every single time as the most dominant college football team. They have a perfect season. They have a perfect record. They beat Georgia 37-10 in the SEC. They play Alabama, that point, number 3 Alabama, that goes on to lose 2 games. They go to Tuscaloosa, win 46-41, Daniel, a 5-point game. Yep. They win a barn burner in Bryant-Denny Stadium. Okay, so that's 2019. Let's go 2018. I went back to Clemson. Clemson, here's their barn burner of a schedule that they had to play any top team on the road early in the season. Oh, I'm sorry. They played number 16 NC State. I'm sorry. That wasn't on the road. That was at home. Okay, great.
At home.
Well, they had to play Florida State at Florida State. They were unranked. Okay, great. They went 17th at Boston College. 27-7. Was the score of that game.
Cool.
That was it.
BC. That's their test.
That was their test. Okay. How about we go Crimson Tide 2020? Okay. The Mickey Mouse. The Mickey Mouse. They faced no team on the road at all ranked.
Okay. So, but it was a real season, right? Surely everybody was competing.
No, not
Surely,
everybody. LSU
like
was postponed. Didn't play
the whole.
LSU that year.
Surely, yeah. So surely,
They
like the
went to
whole
the
thing, it actually counted,
yeah.
right? Like it was.
Nope,
It
didn't count. They went
no.
to Florida, won
Uh huh.
52-46 to a Florida team in 2020.
Okay.
Beat Georgia 41-24 in
Mhm.
Tuscaloosa. Okay, but didn't play anybody on the road. All right, let's go Michigan. How about Michigan Wolverines last year, the cheater schedule?
Lord
Okay,
God, and
let's see on the road
Mhm.
wins. Their biggest win on the road at Penn State, 24-15. Penn State, fraudulent Penn State, Franklin Penn
We know
State
that.
last year. 24-15. 9-point win on the road, November 11th. And then Ohio State at home, Iowa at home. They beat Ohio State by 6 points at home. And then let's even go to 2021 Georgia. If you look at their schedule, again, neutral game against Clemson. We've already recounted that. Auburn at Auburn, 18th, 34-10, but no. And then at Tennessee, 41-17 against Alabama in the SEC championship. We know 41-24. Daniel, my point is this. If you look at what has happened this game was an anomaly all across the board to every single degree. Not a single championship team has ever faced this big of a challenge this early on in the season on the road against the best team in college football. And we were winning with 2.5 minutes left in the fourth quarter after spotting them 28 points. I'm not exaggerating. Again, no moral victories. Don't hear us say that. Evidence. I'm looking for evidence. Toughest.
Well, we don't know
test.
how to feel. Like we legitimately don't know how to feel. So we got to try to figure it out.
All I know is no other team has faced this sort of adversity before and responded this way this early on in the season at all, Daniel. This is the toughest test anybody that has been this highly ranked in the last 5 years of championship teams has faced and done well. If you're asking me again, my hope meter is still up there. The ceiling, I think you said it perfectly. The ceiling, who knows what the ceiling could be, but whatever it is, we'll get there. Whatever it is, we will get there. Guaranteed, because of the culture that Kirby Smart has given us so far this year at Georgia. We're going to come back. We're going to have some more final thoughts of what this game means. But first, these. And these are, in fact, Game Time. Game Time is fantastic. Daniel and I love them because whenever we go to games, whenever we're looking for on the road, whenever we want to know the best ticket price and the best ticket seat and the best deal, we go to gametime.co. Gametime.co has all-in pricing. You must have this feature on in the app or at the website, gametime.co. And what the all-in pricing is, everything, full stop right there,
taxes,
looks
everything.
at. Doesn't matter. And again,
What you see
we've done
is
this.
what you pay.
We play this algorithm. Don't play the algorithm game. This is the best website and the best app, bar none. These super deals are out there, in which it's so fantastic to see which tier you're going to get. It just locates, it does some AI magic and finds you the seat and the ticket that you want. Curated deals make it so easy to find the best price, great seats. Has a fantastic super deal, and best of all, has views from the seat before you purchase. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets for Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. Daniel, you and I are still sky high on this season. We believe everything is still out in front of us. Georgia does have the culture to match every single thing that we are trying to achieve and get done for this season. We've given empirical evidence. We've given our thoughts, given our feelings. What else from this last Saturday is maybe still festering or still processing in you that you want to talk about?
I just think it's important for us to clarify. We've mentioned Carson Beck's name before on this episode. I think it's important for us to clarify that multiple things can be true at the same time. Carson Beck played the worst game of his college career.
Correct.
By a lot.
Landslide.
4 turnovers. Clint. One of them at the end literally just gave the game away to Alabama. He also brought Georgia back from the dead almost exclusively on his right shoulder and the play calling of Mike Bobo.
Mm-hmm.
We saw what makes Carson Beck great on Saturday. And we also saw a side of Carson Beck where he was legitimately rattled especially early in that game. But even the late interception, he was not seeing it, Clint. He was not seeing the field. I feel like a lot of pressure came off of him when we got down so big, and that's what led to him kind of being able to freewheel out there.
Well, you saw he just started dropping back and taking shots.
Cutting it
He just
loose,
said,
man.
Screw it. Let's see what happens.
I'm not ready to say Georgia doesn't have a Carson Beck situation. Like I'm not ready to call it a Carson Beck problem, but a Carson Beck situation. But I do think some of the reports of Carson Beck's demise have been greatly exaggerated. Again, college football is not a math problem.
Nope.
And so often we are used to thinking about it and talking about it as if it were. There are times when people just play really bad. Let me explain what I'm talking about.
Go ahead.
What's old Mark Stoops up to these days? Mark Stoops having anything going on in his life? Like
come on.
What I heard was he's going to retire, and he has probably quit on his team.
Probably.
And he's just kind of a dead man walking, like he's done for. He wanted to go to Texas A&M. He didn't get that job, and so now he's just sort of riding out his time. Got blown out by South Carolina at home. Then came back the next week and took Georgia to the wire. And in the first half of that Alabama game, I was like, that totally makes sense because Georgia's trash. And so, of course, Kentucky did that. But now Georgia's not trash. Are they Alabama fans? I don't think Alabama fans would say that Georgia's trash. Surely you wouldn't, right? This weekend, they went to Oxford and laid it on Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss. That South Carolina game, Clint, sometimes you just get blitzed, and that's exactly what I don't mean like the quarterback gets pressured. I mean, you just get blitzkrieged. You get absolutely like tidal waved early in a game, and that's it. That's exactly what happened to Georgia. The atmosphere at Bryant-Denny Stadium on Saturday night was unbelievable, and Georgia got tidal waved. Arian Smith on the opening drive of the game got tidal waved. Carson Beck early in that game, tidal waved. The Georgia defense, good Lord. The difference is, so sometimes that just happens. That's the point I'm trying to make, right? Sometimes that just happens. It's not a math problem. You don't get to say Kentucky's trash because they got tidal waved by South Carolina. Because guess what? Kentucky ain't trash, y'all. Like, they may not have a good record, but they're a good football team.
Yeah.
The difference is, though, after Georgia got tidal waved, they dragged themselves up off the mat and scratched and clawed and fought and came all the way back in that game. I know a win is what we wanted.
Yeah.
But not only is Georgia not trash, but I just don't know how you don't look at this team moving forward and think, yeah, I'll take my chances with this team. Like 2 weeks against Texas. Yeah, I'll take my chances with this team.
I'll go.
Like, is that going to be a hard game?
About those chances. Yeah.
It's going to be a tough game. But This Georgia team's not going to be overwhelmed in that atmosphere. I promise you that. This Georgia team's ready.
The top challenge has been met already.
Yeah. And we fell short. We fell short.
By one score when we had the lead with 2.5 left after throwing 4 picks.
By one score as we're passing it into their end zone to tie the game.
To tie the game with the worst first half ever compiled under Kirby Smart. Like, again, the toughest challenge was met. I just look back. History shows us a lot. Look back at last year's Alabama team that came back and punched us in the mouth in the SEC championship after losing to Texas at home, after going on the road and barely beating Auburn by 3 and unranked, after going toe-to-toe at home against Tennessee, at home against Arkansas. Our team, one of the better teams in the entire college. Football is not easy math. And all of you who called for Carson Beck to be benched, he wouldn't have had the experience. Imagine what you would have done had you would have benched him, put Gunnar Stockton in. Gunnar Stockton would have not fared much better. I promise you that. And Carson Beck wouldn't have known.
I promise you it would have been way worse.
Carson Beck all of a sudden wouldn't have had under his belt, I can go into Tuscaloosa down by a bazillion points and bring my team back to a lead. He can say that.
It's a legitimate thing moving forward. This is the team we got. Is it as good as last year's team? I don't know. Is it as good as 2022? I don't know. Is it as good as 2021? I don't know. But it's the team we got. And again,
I'm here for
that. That team is a team I can happily cheer for.
Yeah. Because
of the grit and the fight and the want to that I witnessed on Saturday night. And so we'll see. Listen, we got this ain't the only big test on the schedule. As we mentioned, there's more to come. And so this Georgia team's going to have opportunities. I mean, they fell all the way to number 5 in the AP poll, which again, just so we're clear, the top 12 teams get to go to the college football playoff this year, guys. Georgia ain't missing no dang playoff.
No,
okay. Like, let me say that right now.
He is Daniel. I'm Clint. This is Locked On Bulldogs. We'll see you back tomorrow with the Everydayers. We'll see you guys then.
See ya.